I got back into dating after a long marriage, and honestly, it didn't take long before I realized something was off. Not just the apps, the whole experience. Dating itself felt different. I actually went into it the right way, too. I wasn't bitter, I wasn't guarded. I was open to meeting someone and seeing where it could go. And that's probably why it hit me so fast. And the reality is, at this stage of life, what are your other options? We're not in our 20s anymore. You're not constantly around new people. You're not in the same social environments. You're not just naturally meeting someone through everyday life like you used to. And on top of all of that, the dating pool is smaller. So naturally, you end up here, apps, dating sites, just trying to figure it out this way. And I talked about all of that in my last video. But what I didn't expect was how much everything around just dating in general has changed too. The first thing you notice is how everything runs through your phone now. Conversations, first impressions, interests. It all lives in text messages. And that alone is a big problem because text messages get taken out of context all the time. There's no tone, there's no facial expressions, there's no real emotions behind it. It's just words. And we all know that words can be read a lot of different ways. Most of the time, not the way we intended them at all. So now you're just trying to get to know someone. You know, you're trying to interpret them. You're talking to someone that seems fine. Things seem fine. Messages start going back and forth. And then out of nowhere, it just stops. No explanations, no follow up, just nothing. And at first you think, did I say something wrong? Or did I miss something here? But after a while, you realize they just weren't engaged. And there could be a lot of reasons for that. Maybe they're not ready. Maybe it's not a fit. You know? Maybe they're just uncomfortable even being back in all of this. And you even catch yourself doing things you don't like checking your phone more than you normally would. Not because you want to, but because you're wondering if they responded. and that's a different feeling. Because now you're not just talking to someone, you're waiting on them. Or they're waiting on you. And now there's this whole thing around it, this bizarre thing. How fast do you respond? What does that say? Do you answer right away to show interest? Or wait a little while so you don't come off the wrong way? Like maybe you're needy. And I'm sitting there thinking, what are we even doing? I mean, this starts to feel a whole lot less like two people getting to know each other and more like some kind of a game. And honestly, that game, it feels like middle school drama and all of that weirdness. And it's completely counterproductive. Then you go on an actual date. I remember sitting in a nice restaurant across from someone, and on paper everything, was fine. Seemed fine. But the conversation was normal, nothing was wrong, but it just didn't feel right. It felt like I was going through the motions, more than actually connecting. And I remember thinking, am I even enjoying this? Or am I just doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Because everything looked right, but it didn't feel right. It felt like there wasn't going to be any real team there. It was going to be just me giving everything I've got and someone else just kind of being there. And I've already lived that. I've been in that spot. And the more I stayed in it, the more I started to see a pattern. People are more skeptical now. And in a lot of cases, you know, they're not really ready to be dating yet. And I don't say that to judge anyone because, you know, I almost did the same thing. I had to take time and really look at myself to understand what my part in what has went wrong before was. And once you've done that, you start to notice when other people haven't. But to be fair, I did eventually meet someone who had gone through, very similar situations and actually took the time to heal and actually put the work in. And it felt different. We had a great first date, then another, and another. And before long we were in a relationship. We were spending time together, getting to know each other, and I genuinely liked her. I mean, I liked her a lot. And that's what made it harder because it wasn't obvious. It wasn't something you could point at and say, oh, there it is. It was subtle, but I could feel it. But even then, things started to show up that didn't sit right with me. And a lot of it came back to this expectations around communication, texting, checking in, responding quickly, always being available. And I remember one moment, I was just going about my day. It was, a busy day. And I get a message asking why I didn't respond. And now I'm sitting there thinking, what did I do wrong? When really, I'm just living my life. And that didn't feel right. And that's when it hit me. This feels very familiar. In my past, I ignored things just like that. Small expectations, small pressures. And those things don't stay small at all. They build. They turn into you adjusting yourself instead of actually being yourself. And eventually, you lose yourself in all of it. And I wasn't willing to do that again. So, even though this was probably the best situation I had come across, at least yet, I ended it because I could see exactly where it was going to go. And the past, or the part, I guess, that really told me I made the right decision there was how I felt after it. It wasn't a loss and it wasn't regret. It was just calm. And that's when I had to be honest with myself. Do I actually want this? Or do I just think I'm supposed to want this? Because at one point, I thought I was lonely, but I wasn't. I was just alone. And those are two very different things. Being alone isn't a problem when you have peace. So, right now, I'm not even looking for a relationship anymore. And honestly, who knows? Maybe that changes. Maybe it doesn't. I'm not forcing it anymore. I'm just focused on where I'm at right now and where I'm going. And for the first time in a long time, I'm good with that. And that's really what the next chapter is about. It's just figuring life out again.